If you are an international medical graduate planning to apply for U.S. resident, you have heard the term pathways. And you might wonder, which ECFMG pathway I'm supposed to use? Pathway 1, 6, something else? And what happens if you choose the wrong one? In this video, I'm going to break down every ECFMG pathway in simple terms. Let's jump to the video. Before 2020, international medical graduates demonstrate clinical skill through the USMLE Step 2 Clinical Skills exam, also known as Step 2 CS. But after Step 2 CS was discontinued, ECFMG created the pathway systems to evaluate clinical and communication skills for international graduates seeking certification. Today, completing an approved pathway is part of meeting ECFMG's examination requirements for certification. Section 2. The requirement everyone must complete. Before we talk about individual pathways, here's the requirement that applies to everyone. All pathways applicants must demonstrate communication skills through the Occupational English Test, or OET Medicine. It doesn't matter if English is your first language or native language. It doesn't matter if your medical school was in English. Every applicant that is international medical graduate and want to apply for the pathway must meet the OET medicine requirements. In order to pass Occupational English Test, aka OET, you have to pass reading, speaking, and listening with 350 and writing 300. So to sum up, you have 4 sections: reading, speaking, and listening. For reading, speaking, and listening, the minimum is 350 and writing 300, and this test is only valid for 2 years. After 2 years, you have to retake the test if you do not apply for the pathways. Keep it in mind, that part. Also, I just took my OET exam last month, and I made a series about my experience with the OET. So you can check it out, that series, when you finish this video, and I will leave the link in the description below. And of course, you have to pass Step 1 and Step 2. To apply for any pathway, you must first be eligible for ECFMG certification and have an active application status through the ECFMG system. You also cannot have already satisfied the clinical and communication skills requirements through a previous valid Step 2 CS performance. Meaning, if for any reason you already had passed your Step 2 CS, you don't have to apply for these pathways. You're good and you're not qualified because you already have your CS. Pathway 1. Already licensed to practice medicine. Pathway 1 is the most straightforward option. If you currently hold or recently had a license or registration that allows you to practice medicine independently in another country, this is likely your pathway. For example, full licensed physician in India, Pakistan, UK, Latin America. For example, in Latin America, we have the concept of general doctor. After you finish medical school, you do like 1 year, let's see, internship or 1 year clinical practice. And after that year, you had a license and you can practice medicine as a general doctor. So if you had that license and you're from Latin America, you are good to go, and such and such. If you are already recognized as an independent practitioner by your country's licensed authority, pathway might be your fastest option. Pathways 3, 4, and 5. Pathways 3, 4, and 5 are designed for students and recent graduates from a specific medical school that meet ECFMG eligibility criteria. Pathway 3, medical schools meeting ECFMG established criteria. Pathway 4, schools accredited through agencies recognized by NCFMEA compatibility standards. Pathway 5, school issuance degree jointly with U.S. LCME accredited medical schools. Most applicants won't need to memorize the details. The key question is whether your medical school appears on ECFMG's list of eligible schools for the pathways. And something key here, it's you need to be a recent graduate. If you are not a recent graduate from those places, those pathways are not in action. Let's say you apply for the MASH and for X or Y reason, your ECFMG certification expired without you doing MASH, and now you are not a recent graduate. You need to apply for others pathways because you're not qualified anymore because you are not a recent graduate anymore. So recent graduate from those institutions are key here. Pathway 6. If you do not qualify for any of the pathways that I just mentioned, Pathway 6 become your action. Clinical evaluation by licensed physician. Under Pathway 6, your clinical skills are evaluated through ECFMG mini clinical evaluation exercise, commonly called the Mini-CEX. Licensed physicians directly access your performance during clinical encounters and submit evaluation to ECFMG. There is an important call out here. If you fail Step 2 CS previously, you have to apply through Pathway 6. I know CS has been discontinued already. However, if you already have taken the test and didn't pass and want to apply for any of the pathways, it has to be Pathway 6. Pathway Expiration. If your ECFMG certification was obtained through a pathway, both the pathway and the certificate might be subject to expiration unless additional requirements are met or the pathway is revalidated. So pathways are not permanent. So what do you do if your certification just expired? You have multiple options. Number 1, revalidation application. You have to do everything from scratch, meaning you have to apply for one of the pathways and you have to take OET medicine. So remember, as I said previously, OET is just valid for 2 years. So when your certification expire, your OET might be expired too. So you have to retake OET and do the same application process as the pathways that you have done before or after certification, right? But it's basically you have to do for the revalidation application, you have to apply for one of the pathways and the OET. Also, keep in mind, remember, we have like a 7-year rule for the USMLE. So let's say that you have take USMLE Step 1 10 years ago. Your Step 1 might be expired, so you have to check out that part and double check if you have to take, or well, let's say in that case, if you have to retake any of the USMLE. So just be mindful with timeline because this process is so timeline sensitive. So just to sum up, for revalidation application, you have to do the process again, apply for the pathway 1 or 6, and that's key. Remember, we have 6 pathways, but if let's say you certification expire and you apply for pathway 3, 4, and 5, and those pathways are for recent graduate and your certification already expired, it's meaning that you are not a recent graduate anymore. So for revalidation application, you only can apply for pathway 1 or 6, because for the other pathways, you need to be a recent graduate, and you are not a recent graduate anymore. So for revalidation application, you have to apply for pathways 1 or 6. Only 2 actions. You have to retake OET Medicine and do the same process as you did previously, basically. And double check with your USMLE in case that you have taken your USMLE like years and years ago, like 10 years or so. Also, we have another action in training extension. If you have done 1 year of training in United States, you can request an extension. It has to be 1 year at least. So confirmation of an active participation in an eligible program, you can qualify. So we talk about revalidation, extension. Now let's talk about permanent validation. For permanent validation, you have to successfully complete 1 year of GME or licensed by a U.S. state medical board. So for the successfully complete 1 year of GME, ACGME accredited program, you have to be part of non-standard program or confirmed by the program. And the second action, licensed by a U.S. state medical license board, full unrestricted license you have to have when you apply for the permanent validation. And I want to emphasize the 7-year rules. Another important concept is ECFMG 7-year rules. Once you pass your first examination, you generally have 7 years to complete all the examination required for certification. That means your pathway must be approved before your first step that you take is expired. So if you take, for example, step 1 and it has been already 7 years and it's expired, you have to retake it in order to apply for the ECFMG certification. Something that you have to keep in mind. Here is the easiest way to remember everything. If you are already licensed to practice independently, look at Pathway 1. If you are a student or recent graduate from a qualified medical school, investigate Pathways 3 through 5. And if none of those apply, or if you have previously failed a Step 2 CS, Pathway 6 is likely your option. I think that's it for this video. If you want to follow me on social media, I have the same username on Instagram and also on TikTok. I don't use TikTok as much. I have Twitter too. So I have Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. But to be 100% honest with you guys, I'm using more Instagram. Sometimes I repost some stuff on Twitter, but I use more Instagram than anything else. So you can follow me on Instagram for a class follow-up, and also you can follow me here on YouTube. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye.